Hi, I'm Ed Sheeran.
This is Bruno Mars.
Hey, it's Katy Perry.
This is your man Flo Rida with Freddie Cruz.
This is AJ Mitchell with Freddie Cruz.
Freddie Cruz.
Freddie Cruz.
Tell your chico pick Mr. 305 and you already know what it is.
My name is Freddie, and it's time to cruise through HTX. Welcome to the 100th episode of Cruise Through HTX. As you know, this is a podcast for those who want to learn more about the greater Houston area, the businesses, the organizations, the individuals that make it great. And for those of you who know me well, you know me from a previous career. And I spent that previous career talking over the course of 26 years. I'm old. Thousands of hours, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of shows. And it was really not the big a deal because I was just doing my job and doing the best that I could and talking to whoever will listen to me. But apparently in the podcast world, 100 episodes is a big deal. Not to me, but it is. That's because so many people don't even make it past episode 3, and even fewer make it to episode 20. So I'm going to make a big damn deal out of 100 episodes. And so what you're going to hear over the next, I guess, maybe 2.5 hours is me talking to people who I have much respect, much love, much admiration for. These are people who work within organizations that are doing a bang-up job here in the Houston area with regards to a cause that's near and dear to my heart. That's the homeless animal population. We got some new podcasters who have actually been killing it in the game. I met them a couple months ago. We're gonna talk to a couple of people who go back with me to my previous radio career, and of course, my man. Who has been there with me for God knows how. I think maybe we met. Are you on a mic? Raul, when did we meet? 2017, 2016?
Yeah, I think it was 17. 17, 16, something like that.
Yeah, so we met in a previous career. My man Raul, who, he's like a brother. I love him. And so we're going to talk with Raul for the next 2 hours. Really, I want to say there's no plan, but there is a plan. We're just going to have a lot of fun. An occasional F-bomb, an occasional, politically incorrect joke. I'm going to try not to do it in the presence of this lady right here.
Do I get to cuss?
You can if you. Okay.
You just changed the entire vibe of this podcast.
Nice.
Sweet.
So first up is Lisa Tynan, who does the marketing for Houston Pet Set. And if you've listened to the show, you've heard Tina and Tema, the twins, the dynamic duo, the icons who are quite literally changing the game when it comes to homeless pets and advocating on their behalf. So, Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Always a pleasure seeing you.
Yeah. We did meet only a few months ago, and it seems like the year has gone by so fast.
I know. I'm having a really hard time with just... Probably everyone can relate. Since COVID, I've lost all concept of space and time. So like some weeks feel like 3 crammed into 1. And other times I look back and I'm like, I thought it was still like February. Where are we? So we could have met, I don't know, 2 years ago. I wouldn't have any concept of time.
Yeah, because we did meet in February at Anna Meals on Wheels Wags and Whiskers event. And what is so cool, and Raul, this is one of those things, man. It's when you get invited to something, it's just a cool feeling. Mm-hmm. It's just cool. And so, Lisa, I saw you and I'm like, you look familiar. And I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, well, maybe I was thinking, maybe I'll talk. But then you walked up to me and introduced yourself. And I'm like, that's Lisa. And then Lisa invited me to her podcast for Houston Pet Set. And so when you realize just like how big of a deal that was, I was like,
you're making me bashful. I have like 3 listeners on my podcast, but no, it's more than that. But
2 more than me.
Hey, look, we're about to like quadruple our listeners just through this collaboration.
No, but it touched me. Like just
glad.
Everyone loves an invite, but I think that when you get invited to be on a podcast, and especially when Raul and I this is what we do is we produce shows for other people. And so when you're invited, I don't know how you feel, Raul, but when you're invited to a show to be a guest, it's almost like the
cool kids picked you.
The cool kids picked me to be on their show. And you all are actually cool kids.
Look, I'm going to give credit where credit is due because I wish I could say I started the podcast. Tina and Tama started this podcast before I had even joined the organization, and they gave it the gravitas that it deserved with their presence. And I think just because if anybody knows anything about the twins, even if you don't know them, you've probably seen them somewhere because they're hard to miss. They're stunning 5'10" blondes who stick out in a room because they're so elegant. And they're probably two of the busiest people that I've ever met in my life. And so as soon as they had someone who came in and was willing to sit in a podcast studio and take it over, they were more than happy to hand it over to me and not have to worry about it anymore. So I love it. I have so much fun doing it, and I get to meet and talk to incredibly interesting people. So I get just as giddy about it because it's still kind of new for me. Also, I'm about to hit 3 years with Houston Pet Set. So it's all very exciting.
Have you been doing the podcast for all those 3 years?
Almost. They passed it off to me within that first year. So I would say I think I've done 2 seasons about.
Okay. And how did you find the process at the beginning? Because as I understand, you went to school for animal behavior.
Yes.
And so not radio or TV.
No.
So,
although I did actually go to my first major when I went to college was theater.
Oh, okay.
So there's a performance background, just not this particular type.
Gotcha.
But I very quickly realized that my parents were paying a very large tuition to the University of Miami for me to be taking improv classes and rolling around on the floor. And I felt very guilty about a year and a half into that. So I was like, maybe I should take a major that I can actually do something with. So I switched to psychology and then thought I was going to be a therapist. 1 semester into my master's program, I realized I really did not want to help people as much as I thought I did. No, that's not true. I love people. I genuinely do.
We're going to clip that last comment.
It's just, that'll be the preview.
Don't want to help people as much.
People are terrible. No, but it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, and I was not as happy as I thought I would be. So I did some research, and the Hunter College in New York City has an animal behavior program. I was like, well, I like animals. I'll try that. And here we are.
Yeah.
But I still get to use the theatrical side of things, doing media, doing podcasting. So it all comes back into play.
And you're obviously not shy. That's the big thing. That's the big hurdle with people. It's like, well, I don't know if I want to be on a podcast, or I don't know. Because I've invited people to be on my show, and they're like, no, I just don't know. It's a shy thing. It's it's situation dependent, though. I will tell you, if you asked my mother, because, I grew up singing and dancing, whatever. If they wanted me to sing just for my family, couldn't pay me enough. I need an audience of hundreds of people for myself to feel comfortable performing. Yeah.
I don't like one-on-one. Then I do get a little bit shy about it, bashful. But this, like I before we started, I can talk about myself forever. You put a microphone in front of me, done.
Yeah. And some people are just not like that because
normal people.
There is something very not normal about me, I can tell you that. But yeah, it's just something about, because going back to inviting people to be on the show and then they're shy. And I think that's what it is. The microphone, for some reason, is just intimidating. And sometimes you have to tell people, just even like the reluctant ones, just pretend that this is not in front of you, and then point to the camera. That is definitely not watching you.
That we didn't even turn it on.
Yeah, we didn't even turn it on. It's just you and me, kid.
Yep.
That's it. And some people just have a hard time with that.
They do. I will say, I have been incredibly impressed. I haven't had a single guest come on where I've been like, oh my God, this is the slowest 25 minutes of my life. Like, genuinely, everyone has been interesting. And I'll do a little pat on the back here. I've had several people who were incredibly reluctant to do it say, thank you for making that so easy. Because it is very possible to be intimidating and not welcoming when you're sitting across from somebody on a microphone. So I very much make it a goal to make people feel safe and set them up to succeed.
Yes.
Giving people questions beforehand if they want them, letting them say if there's anything they don't want to talk about. Like, I set boundaries for them at the beginning so that they know we're not going to go off the rails and they're going to say something they regret. I also remind them that it's pre-recorded. And we say, if you say anything that you don't want, just tell us to stop and we'll edit out for you. And I think that helps a ton of people.
Lisa, we're going to have you remove minutes 2 through 21.
Can we do that again? Can we start over? Actually, I'm the only person who's had to ever start over because I had a coughing fit and then completely forgot what I was talking about.
Ooh.
And we had to sit there for like several minutes while I went through my head and got my bearings back. I said, all right, reverse, and then start over.
Start the whole thing over?
No, just the section we were on. But that was the difficulty, is like finding a place that would make sense to splice it back in.
Yeah.
But my producer was very skilled, and it didn't look like I had almost choked myself in front of a crowd of people.
Tell me what you think of this, because you did used to want to be a therapist.
I did.
Maybe the camera being on represents some sort of aspect that the guest has no control over, so they have no idea who's watching, and they have no control over that. I have no idea how many people are watching, who's watching, what are the people that are watching, what are they saying?
What are they going to think of me?
What are they going to think of me? Yeah. So that they have no control over that. So do you think that's kind of what that is? Or?
I think that's certainly part of it. I think this represents something unfamiliar. This microphone represents something unfamiliar. The camera, unless you're a ham bone like us, like it represents something unfamiliar. And yeah, I think people lose a sense of control. They feel pressure to perform. Everybody has a little bit of performance anxiety in some aspect of their life. We won't go into the sex therapy version of that performance anxiety, which I did actually think I wanted to be a sex therapist for about a semester. I was convinced that's what I wanted to do. But again, people. So I think there's definitely the fear of failure that I think a lot of people face. And that is, I wouldn't say I don't have a fear of failure. Fear of failure. I don't get embarrassed all that easily. Making dumb jokes, saying stupid things, stumbling over my words. It's like, okay, I'm a human being. That's hard for a lot of people to get past.
Yeah, especially because people, I think the conventional wisdom would suggest that if you're on camera, you have to be like one of the teleprompter readers on the news, and you cannot muck anything up. There are no ums, there are no ahs, there are no pauses. You cannot use lazy language, and every other word, or every other word is like, but, but that's, to me, that's what's endearing about having a podcast, is that we're actually talking like humans.
Real conversation. And I think there is absolutely an art to teleprompter reading and to that professional delivery. And not everybody can do it. We have seen people who are terrible at it. Did you see the graduation disaster?
Oh, wait.
Reading the names, and she couldn't read a single person's name.
I saw something like that on Instagram. That was from this year?
That
you never
just
know
happened.
You never know what's from this year.
It happened like 3 days ago. So there is absolutely an art to literally being able to read in front of an audience or a camera.
Yeah.
And I respect absolutely. And I think we have a lot of dear friends who are on the news and do that sort of thing. I like this. I like a more free flowing. I'm, improv.
Yes.
I may have quit theater, but you still like that loosey goosey feeling and conversational connection.
Yeah. The other thing, piggybacking on what you were talking about with being on the news, you've got an earpiece in your ear and a producer hollering something the entire time. Yeah. And so, there is a skill to being able to read your whatever's on the prompter, and then listen to, and then take in and interpret as you're speaking the words that you're reading.
Yeah.
And my goodness, I've got anxiety just thinking about it.
Can you imagine being in that position during like major events where everything's changing? They're reloading the prompter. Someone's telling you what's happening. And you have to be the calm person. I don't know that I would be able. I think I would just pull my earpiece out and say, "Well, everybody stop shouting at me. Shut the fuck up. I really need to concentrate." Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I could handle that kind of pressure.
Yeah. I know that I was on the radio when 9/11 happened, and that was one of those things where we just stopped everything and we just talked, and it was just like, I don't know what it was like on TV, I imagine the dynamic is far different.
Yeah.
Don't just imagine, I know it's different.
Yeah.
But I mean, we just stopped and we're just talking.
Yeah.
And there was no, we had producers bring in printouts and whatever, of whatever news we could find. But
it's interesting. So I was a sophomore. Was I a sophomore? I don't know. I think I was a sophomore. Nope, I was a junior. So I took an off-campus class through the theater class when I was a junior.
were you rolling around the floor?
There
though?
actually, yes, there was a lot of improv and dance and stuff. But I had to leave school after first period. I think it was like once or twice a week. And I got in my car, and my car was tuned to DC 101. Grew up in Northern Virginia, Rock Station.
I remember DC 101.
It's still the same morning show. Elliot in the Morning is still on.
That's radio station.
I got in my car, and I wasn't really paying attention, but the radio was still playing, and I realized it didn't sound the same. Like usually it's animated and they're laughing and it's crazy, and I finally started paying attention to it, and the first tower had just fallen.
Mm.
And so it was my local rock station that talked me through 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, my theater teacher, who was the only theater teacher I've ever not liked, wouldn't let us turn on a TV in the classroom. So we missed the first hour and a half of what was going on, but spent the rest of the day all in our classrooms watching TV and watching people in real time respond and be professional and composed. And I would imagine, well, I mean, you experienced it looking back. Was it like an out of body experience? Did you just go into like the zone? I can't even imagine having to be in front of people functioning while something like that is going on.
I didn't really know what the hell I was talking about. I was just kind of reading the news as it came through.
Yeah.
And we were just taking calls from people, and I don't remember exactly how that went. I think at some point you just go and you just start talking, just start listening to people, and people would call in and we would just listen to them talk. Yeah. And then I think maybe, if I'm remembering, because it was a long time ago.
Let's not do the math.
Yeah, I think we eventually may have cut into into one of the news channels.
Feed,
yeah.
And that would make sense.
Let them do all that.
Let
stuff.
the professionals handle it, not the morning jocks. And you can't trust those guys.
No, definitely not. Let's go back to Houston Pet Set.
Okay, come on back.
Let's go back to Houston Pet Set. So this is, at the time of this recording, it is May. You all are in soiree mode. Had the chance to go last year for the first time. It is this incredible party.
It is, and it's going to be the most incredible this year because this is our 20th anniversary. So, for anyone who has never heard of Houston Pet Set, nobody would fault you, because we spent probably the first 15 years of the organization being very behind the scenes. It was basically just a granting organization where we raised money at the annual soiree and then took that money and divvied it up to grant recipients, other animal welfare groups who were, as we said, the boots on the ground, the people doing the day-to-day animal rescue work. And I think the first year they did it in 2014, 2000. What year are we in right now?
2024.
It was in 2004.
2074. We are 2124.
See, remember, I can't do math. So in 2004, when they started it, I think there were 17 groups that got grants. And last year we had 89, I think, grant recipients. Wow. So, and this year we already have 30 new groups who've never applied before, who have requested to receive grants. So this, the growth has been almost exponential. Well, again, can't do math. It's not exponential, but it's been a lot of growth. And so as time has gone by, we've really started to expand into programs, not just fundraising.
When you say programs.
So we have our own spay and neuter program. So we provide low-cost spay and neuter services to, depending on where the funding is coming from. Usually what will happen is a specific municipality will give us a certain amount of money to operate within their jurisdiction. We have a mobile unit. So we take our little van and we park it where they tell us to park it. But whatever jurisdiction wants us to come in and provide these low-cost services, they just have to coordinate with us, and then we can show up and we can, between $50 and $85 for surgery, vaccine, microchip. They get their e-collar that they get to go home with. They get a month of flea prevention. So that's kind of our core program that everything else kind of builds off of. And then recently, I guess it was 2 years ago, year and a half ago, we started our community vaccine and microchip clinics, which it was a learning curve. We had a very, very steep learning curve because none of us had ever really put one on before. So we didn't even advertise. We posted on Facebook and we were like, let's hope people show up. It was in July. We were at a community center in Edo and we had 1,000 people show up.
No way.
The line was quite literally around an entire block.
And they're showing up with their pets.
With their pets. And it was actually 100 degrees outside. So we learned, and the air conditioning had gone out the day before in the building. I mean, when I tell you everything went wrong, but we still managed to serve, I think we got about 300 animals in, and never again did we do it without appointments. Every single one we've done since then, we've had an appointment process, and it has gone way smoother. And now we're up to the last 2. We did over 830 pets in 4 hours. So
that's a lot.
That's a lot of pets.
Wow.
And it's completely free. We get sponsors to cover it. And we have incredible volunteers who come and can vaccinate and microchip an animal in, a minute and a half.
Mm-hmm.
We literally will schedule 5 pets every minute because we have 3 tables running at the same time. So it's like a well-oiled machine. So we have a transport program. It has slowed down, unfortunately, and this is a topic for a different day, but anyone who's familiar with animal welfare in the South knows we have a lot of animals and the North doesn't have as many.
They want us.
They want our animals.
Yeah.
But we have been transporting up there for several years and we've now saturated the market in the North. So our partners in Minnesota have had to kind of pump the brakes and they can't take animals from us because they can't get those animals adopted up north. So the problem is spreading, unfortunately. But we still actually really successfully transport cats. We do a cat transport every 2 weeks between, 40 and 60 cats. And we send them up to one partner in Minnesota and she adopts the hell out of those cats.
Really?
Every 2 weeks she can take more.
Huh.
So whatever she's doing up there at Angel of Hope Animal Rescue up there in Minnesota, she's crushing it. So those are our programs. We do advocacy. We are a 501c3, so we don't lobby. You'd have to be a 501c4. We could lose our status if we ever got sketchy about the politics side of things. But we can absolutely advocate. We can speak in front of city council. We can, meet with key players to find out, what we can do to help and help spread the message. But we get all of that funding through our own fundraising. Our soiree, our big bash, our party every year, that money that we raise, that goes to our granting. So obviously, we have to pay for the event. It's at the Post Oak Hotel. It is a spectacularly opulent affair, and it's beautiful and so much fun. And we have such incredible fun donors, so it's a party. And then we take a portion of that and we disseminate that. So last year, I think it was over 400,000 that we granted, or right around 400,000 that we granted to those 89 different groups. So this year, for our 20th bash, we are having Pat Green come and play a concert. So it's going to be, we've never had a concert before at our soiree. So, the King of Texas Country is going to be there. And we already have we've already sold something like 10 or 12 tables and we have one person coming who is specifically coming to win the live auction item of a Pat Green concert, a private Pat Green concert for you and like 100 of your closest friends.
How much do you think one of those would go for?
I don't.
What do you think, Raul?
Yeah, what's your guess?
I'm more concerned. I don't have 100 close friends.
I was going to say that. Thank you.
Genuinely, I'd be like, can you do it for 5 people? That's what I think I could muster.
Whose idea was it to have it for 100?
I may have made that number up. Don't quote me on it. But I mean, it's basically like a small private concert, like a house concert. The other question is who has space in their house to put on a concert? Certainly not me.
Well, Raul does.
Do you? Okay. No? Yeah, I think based on what we have been able to do at previous galas. So last year, I don't know if anybody watches Yellowstone. Our past 2 soirees have had kind of a Yellowstone-y theme. 2 years ago, we had Rip come. He was our celebrity guest and auctioned off like a Rip experience, Cole Hauser. Last year, Chef Gator came. He's a celebrity chef, but if I understand it correctly, he was the craft services chef for Yellowstone. and ended up on camera. And then they like gave him a role because he was actually, people liked him and he was good at it. So now he's like a genuine celebrity chef. He has a cookbook or something. So he came and he auctioned off a private dinner. They sold 2
I remember that.
for $80,000.
Yeah. That was so cool.
Unbelievable. The fact that because they couldn't get anyone to go above 80 and they said, Chef Gator, if we keep it at 80, will you do 2 of them? And he said yes. So they each paid $80,000. So if that was just for a dinner, I mean, not just a dinner. I'm not downplaying the fact that
No.
have
I
a
know what you
celebrity
mean.
to get-
Yeah. No, I know.
But like a full-on concert
right.
from Pat Green.
Like a full production. This isn't just him showing up, as I understand, not just showing up with a guitar.
I think it's him and his band.
Yeah.
I think so. It could get crazy.
Yeah.
And he also is doing you can purchase VVIP level tickets and get a VVIP. There's a private after concert, an acoustic set in a private room. I'm telling you, this is the year. If you were ever saving up your pennies for a musical experience that benefits the animals, this is the year.
I want to know, what about the VVVIP experience? Do you get to read a bedtime story?
You get to
Pat?
ride on his jet. No, I don't know. I wouldn't even want to know what that VVVIP experience would turn into. That's asking a lot of this man.
Yeah.
He's being so kind and so generous.
Yeah.
Really, his team has been so far wonderful to work with. So we're really excited to see what this is gonna turn into.
One of my favorite things about Houston Pet Set is that, you put on these, in your words, opulent affairs. These events are so cool, but when you watch the documentary that they have about Houston Pet Set, and I am so sorry, I went to the screening. I can't remember the name of it.
For the animals.
Oh, that's okay. Easy.
It's the same as our tagline. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So when you watch the documentary, these people, the twins, they're actually out doing the hard work that you would not think. That someone who's like the founder of an organization that's been around for 20 years, that they're still out doing the work that they're passionate about. They're trying to lure homeless dogs into their SUV. There are tears that are shed for, these animals. And to me, I mean, look, you don't need to be reminded. Every animal has got a story behind them. And that's what makes each one special. And so that's what I love about Houston Pet Set, is that, you all aren't just like, talking the talk.
Yeah.
You're walking the walk. And there was something that that you had mentioned in one of your podcast episodes. I forget who you were talking to, but it was doing it not for the applause, but for the cause. Mm-hmm. And that really stuck to me.
Yeah.
It really, really stuck to me.
Yeah. It is, this industry is not for everybody. And I'm not saying that to brag. It is genuinely hard.
It's hard on you emotionally.
Yes. We actually, my last episode at the time of recording that just came out was with a therapist who specializes in burnout and compassion fatigue, because that is rampant. And that's in pretty much all of these kind of service oriented type industries. And people are struggling. And I don't know if it's because I have a black soul. I don't know if I'm made specifically for this, but I don't think I could do anything other than animal welfare. I genuinely love it, and somehow I'm able to compartmentalize, I guess. I still can sleep I can't sleep at night, but it's not because of that. It's because I have insomnia, but that's unrelated. But this isn't for everybody. And I love the people that I work with and the groups that we support. And we encourage people, take a step back, take a break. You can't save them all. And that's okay, because at least you're trying.
That's what's heartbreaking about it. And maybe that's why the burnout is real. Mm-hmm. It's like, how much more pain can I take? Yeah. How much more can.
And it's always, I can't complain because look at all of the suffering that I see. Mm-hmm. But we're here to tell you, you can complain, you can take a break, you have to take care of yourself, because if you don't, then you'll end up in a bad place. And that's so many fewer animals you'll be able to help because of it.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite story of a dog that's not in the documentary?
So we very heavily featured in the documentary. We have street feeder partners that we help supply food to. And anyone who is not familiar with Houston probably doesn't know what a street feeder is, because they aren't in every city or state. These are people who, because we have so many stray animals, they go around and they have specific neighborhoods and spots where they just drop food and water for the stray animals so they don't starve to death. That's all they can provide. These dogs aren't owned. These cats too are not owned. They just live on the streets. And so rather than letting them starve, street feeders go around and they keep them fed until somebody can get them off of the streets. So we had, social media is a really big part of animal welfare. As much as I wish our entire lives didn't play out on Facebook, that is the reality at this point. And someone tagged Tina, I think, and Tama both a couple of times because one of the many street feeders that we've supported has been taking care of this one dog for years. He's been on the street for years. And he's friendly and happy. And she came in one morning and he was pretty injured. He had some open wounds. He was bleeding and he was really lethargic and really wasn't looking good. And she had been posting trying to get him help for a really long time. Now that he was injured and the situation was kind of dire, that request kind of rose up above the noise. And so there was a lot of texting and scrambling, and I happened to be available. And I said, yeah, we can go pick him up. And, just tell me where I'm taking him, because we found one of our partners, Anna Barbosa with Houston K911, phenomenal partner. We reached out and we said, do you have space for a dog if we can get him vetting? And she said, yes. So I became transport master. And my boyfriend Bill and I were like, all right, we'll hop in the car. We met up with the street feeder. She drove us into a part of Missouri City I had never been to. Stop sign riddled with bullet holes. The just illegal dumping all down the side of the road. A place that has been heavily neglected, clearly, by our city and county governments. And she, as soon as her car pulled up onto the street, dogs materialized. They knew her car because she feeds them every day. And they came running out, tails wagging. And we spotted the dog in question because he was limping pretty badly. Just kind of a white land hippo looking pit bull type dog, with the sweetest face I have ever seen in my life. He was so cute. So the street feeder, had called him Caleb. So that was our mark. That was our guy. Got a leash on him. Super friendly dog. He's been, loved on daily for years. Getting him in the car was a different operation because that dog was 85 pounds. And 85 pounds of not helpful dead weight.
Poor guy.
Every time I went to pick him up, he would just kind of melt because he just was so happy to be touched. So I finally was able to hoist him into the back of my car. And I drive a Subaru Crosstrek. It's not a big car, but it has a big enough hatchback that he could comfortably sit back there. We got him situated, closed the hatchback. Bill went to get in the back seat to kind of keep an eye on him. The second Bill sat down, that dog squeezed through the back seat and the roof of the car and basically collapsed on Bill's lap and fell asleep. He was so tired and he was so ready to be saved. And so we said, all right, let's go. We drove him out to Cypress where the vet had agreed to see him and walked him in. He limped his way in and you could see the relief in his face. And now he got through his medical treatment. He had, she said, the worst case of fleas. They were like mega fleas. She's like, I've never seen parasites this big. So he's completely anemic. He had a bone infection, probably from a fight. And now he's completely physically healed. He just needed to spend some time being a house pet with a foster and then a trainer. And he, I think, is still waiting for his forever home. And so it was so fun to get to watch him take that whole journey. And this was just a dog who was just waiting for his chance. There's nothing wrong with him. Sweetest boy. And he just needed that opportunity. And unfortunately, it took him being injured to finally get it. But if that's what it took, that's what it took. And now he's safe.
It's going to be a before after, and it's going to look amazing on Facebook. And I'm like,
I will say Mange makes really good before and after stories for the social media.
Yeah. So if you work with an animal rescue and you happen to take on a mange case, save the before
picture. Stick around for the end.
Yeah, stick around.
The before and after is spectacular.
Yeah. And I mean, people eat that up on social, because everyone loves a good underdog story, pun intended, I mean, these dogs they are underdogs, and you see them get through the worst of it. Mm-hmm. And these dogs are, they were both adopted out almost immediately because they're so damn cute, But yeah, I'm over. They're gonna die.
Look, there's no judgment being passed. You never know when it's going to hit you. That's the
Yeah.
sneaky thing about
Yeah.
working in this field is you can see the worst of the worst
Yeah.
and you never know what is actually going to make it through your
Yeah.
hard wall of safety and protection
Yeah.
and just break you down.
Yeah. And I always say, like with the longer term animals in our care, I always say, you know, when you get adopted, you know I'm going to cry, right? You know I'm going to cry, right? And I always say that kind of, I guess maybe as a like
inspiration.
You're not going to cry.
Yeah.
Just try not to. If I say that I will, maybe I won't.
Man.
Right? You know?
Be cool.
Yeah, just be cool.
Yeah.
No, but I remember there's a dog named Whiskey. He was a Dutchie. Oh, he was so cute, big, clumsy looking boy. And I remember we were trying to pimp him out so hard on social media because he was just so cute, so unique looking.
I know.
You know, and he got adopted on a day that I was not at the shelter. I was off, and I was working in my office, and I got the text from one of our receptionists with a picture, and I lost it. Like, but on the opposite end of the spectrum, the joy. I'm like, oh, my boy. Oh, you know, I was like,
it is a roller coaster.
yeah,
for sure.
And then guess what? So we're at this was back in the summer, so probably July or August, and so then in October at our Halloween event, we're at Memorial City Mall, and I see this big brown Dutch Shepherd, and he recognized me.
That's the best.
I'm like,
oh, I love that.
Yeah, I'm like, Whiskey, what's... He came and said hello, and you know, of course, I wasn't there, so I didn't meet his parents.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure they probably thought it was like maybe a little weird that this guy was fangirling over their dog. But yeah,
they were just like, yes, this is a normal reaction to our gorgeous dog. Everybody should respond this way.
Yeah,
all the time.
I mean, really?
No, it is. I you know, in a previous life, I worked at the Houston SPCA for 6 years, and there was as in the role of behaviorist there, I did offer up my services to potential adopters to do dog intros. So if they brought their dog in and were interested in adopting another dog, I would facilitate the introduction, or you know, one of our staff would assist. And I don't know how many of those I did. It must have been, you know, hundreds at that point. And I got a call one day from the front desk. They're like, someone dropped off a package for you. Okay. So I came up, and it was like a little gift basket, and it had like a Beta root beer in it, and like a card and a picture. And I opened it up, and they sent me this as a thank you for helping them meet this particular dog, because it was a picture of the two dogs together who were best friends. Like, they immediately bonded and became the best of friends.
Yeah.
And they sent me this whole long thing. And they said, you know, I don't know that we would have chosen this dog, but you helped us make this decision. It's the best decision we've ever made. I didn't even remember the dog. And then I looked at it, I was like, wait a sec, I remember these people. Like, this was a really good intro, because the dogs immediately hit it off. And it apparently meant something so much to them that they sent me a gift basket as a thank you. And I was like, well, this is simply too much for me. It was such a lovely moment that, like, you need to cling to those. Mm-hmm. That's how you get from one day to the next, because you may not realize the impact that you're having in the moment, but somebody else does.
Yeah.
And that makes it fully worth all the other shit.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think your ratio of successful meet and greets was when you were doing that? Would you say?
I don't even want to think about that. I don't want to, because I will say that very few times did I have to outright say no, where like it was like immediately no. Like, the one dog would walk in and the vibe would be so off. I would.
The signs were obvious?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Very much so. When they're that bad, when it's clear that one dog or the other doesn't play nice.
And you're talking about like actual growling, like hostile behavior, or no?
Obvious. Stiffening of the body, staring, squaring off. You know, some of the more subtle signs, but when they happen immediately and they don't stop. So like, a lot of times they'll initially have a meeting and everyone will be tense for a second, and then they shake it off, because that's how they release their tension, and then they'll sniff and it'll go on, and that's fine. But it was the ones who walked into the room, and the one who was already there, or the one we brought in, immediately froze and didn't unfreeze, or you know, maybe had a low growl going, but the vibe in the room changes. And if it stays like that for longer than a couple of seconds, then you say, we're not going to risk it. Not worth it.
I feel like that kind of knowledge, that like picking up on that energy, is really good for people who are at a dog park and wanting to do a meet and greet, or wanting their pet to meet another animal.
Okay. So
I mean, is that
yes.
Is that about right? Like, okay,
you
so
need that, and approximately 0.2% of pet owners actually have that kind of awareness in dog parks.
okay, so when a dog is coming up to, or whoever the party is, if you're going to let your animals intermingle with another one, what are some telltale signs that are good, one, and then bad? They're going to the bad ones.
So the first thing that dog owners should know is how dogs greet each other. We think it's hilarious that dogs sniff each other's butt, but for them, that's normal. That's their version of shaking hands and introducing themselves. So a good sign is always if they both immediately go for the butt sniff. That's polite. That's polite doggy language. And they'll usually circle because that's just by nature of how they're moving and sniffing. They go in a circle. That's a good start. If everybody is loose, the body language is loose, if the mouths are kind of open, their tongues are lolling out, their tails are wiggly wagging, not stiff wagging, but wiggly wagging, that's a good thing. And if they sniff and then they turn and they walk away from each other, that's also good. It doesn't mean they don't like each other. It just means, all right, we established what we want to establish.
We shook hands.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
I'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Some warning signs to look out for are, like I said before, stiffening of the body, what we call a hard stare, which is prolonged eye contact that's not breaking. And
They're both looking at each other.
Only one has to give a hard stare for it to not be good.
At the other animal.
Because a hard stare is basically like a precursor to a launch or an attack.
Oh.
It's very rude in dog language to stare. I say that obviously knowing that, like, when you have your pet at home and you grasp his face in your hands and lovingly look into his eyes, that's different.
Yeah.
It's a dog you don't know. If they're staring at you like they're about to pick a fight with you.
Post up, homie.
Yes, that's exactly what it means. So that's a problem. The stiff wag. So
what is a stiff wag?
A stiff wag. So anyone who's not watching me give this demonstration is going to be like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But depending on what kind of a tail they have, I'm gonna pick a breed that everyone can picture, which is a German Shepherd.
Okay.
When you picture a German Shepherd just standing naturally, his tail hangs low. A natural tail carriage for a German Shepherd is for it to hang low and relaxed. When they wag and it's happy, it's usually side to side or helicopter, spinning in a circle. And usually their butt is involved.
Okay.
It's not just the tail.
And the upper part of the tail is still below his butt?
It can get higher. It's more like the motion of it.
Okay.
So it's looser, wigglier, wagglier.
Okay.
When it becomes a problem is when it's almost like the base of the tail isn't moving, just the top is kind of going, or it's almost like vibrating. So it's a stiff wag. They don't have that wiggle. That is more a sign of arousal than excitement. Like something has really got their attention.
I don't know if I like you.
Yes.
Okay.
It's exactly it. So it's like, this could go either way. Now, that doesn't automatically mean they're going to attack. It just means let's keep an eye on this because it could go the shake off and everybody's fine, or it could go further stiffening and escalate.
Why does this, the interaction that you're talking about, like this behavior almost sounds like when you have two drug dealers on TV and they're worried about whether or not the person's going to come out with a suitcase of money or if it's going to be somebody with a gun.
Or a gun, because that is it. And that's one of the reasons when you brought up the dog parks, why I almost fell over. So when I was in grad school, I worked my way through as a dog walker in New York City. I was studying animal behavior at the time. So I was a very attentive dog walker because I was watching my charges that I had been entrusted with. And I would get there and there would be people with their, at the time, iPods, sitting with a book, reading on a bench, and their dog is running amok, causing problems, one-sided play where only they are having fun and nobody else is. And the owner would just, then of course the dog's shitting everywhere. They're not picking it up. Like the whole thing was just the absolute worst. And it was so stressful for me. And then I would eventually have to just take my dog out and leave because I didn't want to watch things go badly.
Yeah.
But like I said, so few people truly take the time to understand actual, not Caesar Milan bullshit dog behavior, but like real scientific dog behavior. because they either intervene way too soon and mess up a potentially great interaction, or they don't intervene at all and somebody gets hurt.
I bet those people use retractable leashes.
Let's have a PSA. Can we do a PSA?
Please do.
Retractable leashes were invented by the devil. I'm sure, I think. Oh, I'm looking at the camera. I've been told, thank you, Raul. Don't buy retractable leashes. They are so dangerous for so many reasons. Number one, you think you have good reflexes, but when your dog darts out into the street and you haven't pressed the button in time, your dog just got hit by a car. They're also, what is it, like dental floss, basically, is attaching the dog to the handle. So if you have a strong enough dog and he gets a good lead and starts running, those things snap. Also, when they snap, they retract onto your hand. I know of multiple people who have gotten injured by retractable leashes smacking in the hand. Don't use them. No, bad dog. Thank you. This has been your PSA.
Yes. I mean, really,
They're the worst.
Listen, I don't believe in banning things. I would be okay with banning these.
Throw them in the trash and never just burn them.
I've got it 60.
So,
yeah, go ahead.
what about parents that use them on their kids?
Probably the same issue. They're gonna get hit by a car. Look, I'm telling you, we have this like egotistical thought that our reflexes are like, no, it's fine. I'll catch them when they start running. No, you won't. No, you won't. You're not faster than your child, and you're not faster than your dog.
Yeah. I also try really hard to not judge people. But with retractable leashes and dogs is one, and then people who leash their kids is another.
Look, I don't have kids, so I can't pass the judgment on that, because I do know people who have had runners where their kids, if they are not holding on to some part of their body or shirt, they're gone.
Yeah.
They're them cute little like teddy bears and backpacks.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I just, there are so many things that I wish. You'd need to give me like a 3-hour episode of all the problems I have with pet owners. And then I would lose all of my friends.
Oh, goodness.
But yeah, if we had to harp on one thing, it would be, please stop using retractable leashes. Please stop using prong collars if you're not under the strict governance of a qualified, certified trainer. You're just abusing your dog. Use harnesses when you can. I mean, like, there are so many just simple things that pet owners could do. Don't use shock collars. Just don't do it. Unless you are, again, training a field hunting.
They sell these at PetSmart, though.
I know. Lots of groups have tried to get them banned. You can buy them on Amazon. You can buy them at PetSmart. The average person doesn't know how to use them and ends up doing more harm than good.
You see, Raul? That's why you should never wear a shock collar.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm curious to know what it feels like now.
Okay.
I'm going to go to PetSmart after this.
I might be the only person in the room who did this in school.
Yes.
But if you had carpet and you had the chair and you'd rub your feet and then you'd stand up and you'd shock yourself on the bottom of the chair. Am I the only one who did that?
No.
Okay.
Well, shock myself?
Yeah. Or shock somebody else.
I try to shock other people.
But but you would also do it and then you'd stand up and you'd touch the metal leg of the chair and you could see the spark.
Right.
Yeah. That's what it feels like on their neck. So, and if you do it at the wrong time, you're punishing them for doing nothing wrong, and then you just ruin the relationship you ever had with your dog because they become scared of you. And I don't think that's why people get pets.
And I think the defense is, but you know what? They're dogs, and they should know.
Well, that was an oxymoron.
They're dogs and they're animals. They're animals, and I'm the human and I'm the alpha. Right? Yeah. Right.
PSA number 2.
This isn't. Right. Please, let's do it.
Can I do my second PSA?
And that's not my thought. That's
no, I know.
Right.
You were being very facetious.
Right.
I read that quickly because
PSA number 2 and
action. The gentleman whose name I can't remember, who invented the alpha pack theory. He was a wolf researcher. And he wrote this whole theory about the alpha dogs and fighting for dominance and the pack dynamic. And then years later, he came out and was like, my bad. That was wrong. And he realized it was wrong because he had been studying an unnaturally formed group of wolves. They were dogs who had been forced together in a sanctuary setting. In real life wolf world, it's family groups. It's a mommy, a daddy, litter. And they have a family dynamic. Nobody is competing for dominance. The only fights about dominance are 2 separate family groups, and they're fighting over territory. So even the guy who invented it was like, I was way off. Sorry, everyone. But like jabronis like Cesar Millan who have zero formal training, I've met the guy. He's like 5'2". I could take him.
I haven't heard that word in forever.
Shout out to The Rock.
He used that word.
Just rolled off.
Yeah, I was like,
I said I was a 90s kid.
have you ever hit anybody with a steel chair?
I've wanted to. Does that count? I've rated.
Wanted to.
ones.
Yeah.
That's if
Have.
I think we all do.
my hero.
No, you hit somebody with a chair?
Yeah, don't just
I
plow
was like,
past
gloss
that.
over that.
You know, I told you, I'm sober 5 years. We've had some fun.
It may have been before that 5 year period.
fun.
Yes,
Fair
definitely.
enough. Fair enough.
We're at a point where I want to invite a couple more people on because we do have, I told you that we had some more guests coming up. And so, Lisa, please stay.
Yes,
Stick
okay.
around. Come on. This is Juan and Angelica. I told you at the beginning of this 100th episode that this is like, there's a plan, but not really a plan. The plan is to just have a bunch of podcast fun. Yeah, we're just grooving. We're going with the flow.
Vibing.
So
Hi.
this is Lisa, this is Juan, and this is Angelica. They are the hosts of In the Business with Juan and Angelica. And we all go way back
Love
to
that.
a previous career of mine. And so, yeah, I had to invite them to be on.
I love
and
it.
there's some headphones if you want some headphones. Yeah. So
Welcome. We're just talking about dogs.
dogs. We love dogs. Do y'all have pets?
You have a cat? I got 2. I love cats.
What-
I'm a cat lady.
What is the minimum number of cats before you become a crazy cat lady?
1.
1.
See, Raul knows. It's a state of mind.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay. So have you dealt with any crazy cat? I've never have.
I'm dating one.
You're
That was off the mic.
Did we cut
That
this
was off
part
the
out?
mic.
We're going to cut that part out.
For anyone who couldn't hear him, he said, I'm dating one.
Raul definitely did not say he's dating a crazy cat lady for
No, but it truly is. It's a state of mind. If you love cats and you make them a part of your identity, you are allowed to call yourself a crazy cat lady.
I feel like I'm a crazy dog dad.
That's okay.
You know, I feel like that's a state of mind too. Y'all ever have dogs? Yeah. Angelica says, yeah. What about you, Juan? Oh, sorry. Oh, he's
still trying to
he's turning the
hook
mics
himself
on.
up.
That's all right. Yeah, see, look, we're all good.
It's
We're
free
rolling
flowing.
with this. We're free flowing. Yeah, we're recording. This is all on tape.
We're on.
We're on. Yeah.
It's an improv vibe. So I will say the other thing that makes you a crazy cat lady or crazy dog dad is when people buy you a gift, is it themed towards that animal? If the answer is yes, people think of you as that. So all of my friends give me cat themed presents.
Gotcha.
So even when I only had one cat,
That is your identity.
that was my idea.
So, okay. Huh. Are
It's-
we on? Oh, I don't hear Angelica.
No.
Now
There we
she-
go.
Hey, we got it now. We got it. But, so we got 1 cat, 2 cats,
One.
1.
We have one. Yes. We have Becky, who was named after the song within the song. You ever heard that Beyonce song where
Becky
she's like,
with the good hair.
Becky with the good hair?
Does she have good hair?
Yeah, she does. She's a Siamese cat, and she has beautiful dark hair, and of course that little light. Juan didn't want her at the beginning
Oh my God. So you're just firing shots in all directions.
because he's the one that named her. So
So I've always been like, I was against pets. I didn't want to have any pets in the house. I was like, no, I don't want to have pets in the house. And so this happened, and she was like, somebody asked her sister, I think it was your
It
sister.
was,
They
it
were like,
was.
hey, do we have a cat that that needs a home?
and it's to
And,
be rehomed. Yeah, she was a
And she said, oh, let's go look at this cat. And I was like, I'm totally against it. I don't want a cat. I don't want a cat. I don't
Yeah.
want a cat. And we went over there, and then they agreed. They're like, okay, no, I'm going to take the cat. And so she brought the cat, and I was like, no, I don't want the cat. I was like, I'm not going to feed it. I'm not going to do anything for the cat. It's here.
Shots fired. Man, savage.
No, he wanted nothing to do with it. He wanted to participate. Nothing. You glaze over a lot of the conversation, but yes, he did. He wanted nothing. He wanted nothing to do with her, and I understand. Not everybody's a pet person. I get that.
Yeah.
So when she came along, she's a very shy cat. She doesn't meow a lot, and I don't think she was ever feral, but I do believe that she came into a home that she had to be very submissive. So she still continues to be, but so she's very passive aggressive.
Oh. Do you mean she pees and poops on things?
If she's upset and mad,
Uh-huh.
absolutely.
Uh-huh.
My son visits and forget it. She'll pee on his stuff.
Yep.
What?
Yeah.
We had a family cat who would only pee and poop on my brother's pillow.
No way.
He was not very nice to
Now that's how you get pink eye. What movie's that from?
Oh, no.
Oh.
I think it's You, Me, and Dupree. God, was it You, Me, and Dupree?
Are you the only person who saw that movie?
No.
I've never even heard of the movie.
Gosh.
Wait, it was was it
Oh.
Luke Wilson? No, Owen Wilson.
Yes.
Owen
It
Wilson.
wasn't old school. Was it?
No, it was-
Oh, hold on. I'm Googling it now. I'll keep talking about
But
how
now here's my
I
question.
like cats.
do you guys cuddle now?
Yeah, she says between us.
I was gonna say that's always how it goes. Someone's like, absolutely not, and then like within 2 weeks, the cat's like curled up. In
It
your
didn't take long. I think after a while, I was like, okay, I kind of warmed up to her, and then before I knew it, I was petting her, I was carrying her around, and now I'm the one that feeds her. I'm the one that does everything.
He gets up. He gets up in the morning, and she won't chase me in the morning, but she'll chase him because he gets the treats. He gets all the food.
That's the only time
and
she pays attention to me is when I get up and I'm gonna feed her the snack. That's
the
only
bringer of
time.
the food.
Yeah, that's the only time. Other than that, she ignores me.
But here's the thing: in cat world, that's a very high honor.
It is.
So it's okay.
It is.
Their life revolves around food. So.
She's an amazing cat. We've had her now for over 5 years, going on 6 years, and she's a good cat. And you'll be surprised at how many terrible cats there.
Oh, I am not.
And then you have I think you were talking about dogs, and I thought you think dog pet owners let their dogs do whatever, but cat owners, there's only one can only be like the one who like is submissive. And so what I'm trying to say is in the relationship between me and my cat Becky, we fight for that spot. And so it depends on the day and the week.
Yep.
Who's in the mood and who's not.
Oh, okay.
And so, so cat parents they're a different breed. It's a different, like, we have a whole child that we leave at home and we come back to.
Yeah.
Dog parents have dogs.
Yeah.
So it's
the saying is, dogs have family, cats have staff.
Yes.
No way.
Yeah.
And the movie is Knocked Up, by the way.
Oh.
That's how you get pink eye. You fart on the pillow.
5 minutes later.
It was going to bother him. It's a good thing he looked
I
it up.
had to look it up.
The conversation has changed 5 times.
Well, at least remember a time we didn't have Google on our phones and you just had to be frustrated because you couldn't think of it.
Couldn't think of it. Yeah.
You say it
Goodness
late at
gracious.
home 2:00 and you're like, that's right.
Now I want to see Knocked Up.
Yeah.
Good movie.
Freddie, it's good seeing you.
Yeah, it's really good to see
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
Yeah. Thank you all for coming by and
This is an upgrade.
this is not this is all Raul.
Yeah.
Raul's studio
It's nice.
is
It's very nice.
yeah.
The road mics and
The
everything.
last time we recorded, he was running around with a briefcase. And that's how
briefcase.
my roadcaster.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the board. Yeah. I'm opening up I'm in the middle of opening up an office, which is going to be a studio. So it's in a Regis facility, like
Nice.
where we interviewed each other for our podcast. And so then I am going to turn that little 8x12 hole in the wall into a full-fledged studio. So I have the recording gear. I've got the Shure mics and I bought some soundproofing panels with the lighting and all that. And so, yeah, that's
exciting.
yeah.
How's it going?
It's going good. I've
Yeah.
got no complaints. I'm in empire growing mode.
I was going to say it's going good. If you're opening an office, that's a good sign.
Yeah, I just feel like I need to be more official. I feel like, and plus, I don't really like doing remote interviews. I don't like them, and
Neither do I.
Yeah.
You never get the sense of like what's what.
mm-mm.
And so you always have you ever see the news? That's what it looks like. And that's what it sounds like when you're doing interviews.
yeah, yeah, you get that 3-second pause. It's like do.
Yes, it's so nice to talk to you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, I was thinking you were saying you didn't like doing mobile interviews. You're saying like virtual interviews.
virtual.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love using Riverside.fm. It is amazing, so much better than Zoom. They don't pay me to say that. I just love using those tools.
Maybe they will now.
Maybe they will. They have an affiliate program.
Look into your camera
Look at my
for your PSA.
No, but their tools are so good. I'll keep my Riverside account. I'll probably just use the subscription, the service for client. I have a client who likes doing remote interviews, and plus you can upload audio and video files and get transcriptions. You can get video clips, and and it'll write your show notes. Now it's AI assisted, so you have to go in and tweak. AI has Lisa Tynan was a gracious host who gracefully did this, and then hopefully will one day, and it beautifully conversated. And
It's the adjectives. That's how you know it's AI.
That's exactly how you know.
Too many adjectives.
Yes, and it's really long and redundant, and it's like, no.
You can tell a human has not participated in this.
Right.
Yeah. I actually read a press release that was it was a CNN press release that was 100% AI because it was that language. Just unnecessary adjectives. Like you imagine when you wrote a paper in 8th grade and you didn't hit your page limit yet and you just go back and start adding flowery language, and it was a press release from CNN. I was like, oh,
that's why people don't watch them.
We've jumped the shark now completely. Like it was very disappointing because someone could have had a job writing that.
Yeah.
Would have done way better job than Chat GPT or whoever it was.
I feel like there's an art to prompting and using it the right way, though. I feel like it, and of course I'm talking about uploading a file and having it do your show notes, but you can actually write something. You can engineer a prompt. So for instance, I've had different blogs that I've written. I'm like, I want to see how that looks, but written in I want like 2 different variations of it. And so you set parameters and then you tell it not to use the adjectives and the adverbs, and please do not say, this is another telltale sign. Please do not use the words unleashed, unraveling, or what, breaking through. What's the other? I feel like there's a whole series of words with ChatGPT that just make it completely obvious.
Interesting.
But I've heard that you can train the AI though.
Yes.
I've never tried it, but I know that I've heard of people that say that you can train it.
Yeah.
And that does pretty well. I think where I like to use it is like for Spanish. Like I'd tell it, translate this to Spanish.
Yeah.
And then it'll translate it. You still have to proof it and, make corrections. But it's pretty good at doing Spanish.
I think I've heard for intellect, like, and this is part of like even, this is part of like the government and the things that the way they use, like Google. We don't even use Google the way we're supposed to. There's a form and a way to do it. There's an intellectual way to
There's
use
like
it.
the parentheses and like quotation marks and prompts and stuff. Yeah.
There's a very intellectual way, but so AI isn't for the Google user. AI is for the intellectual person who doesn't want to go and read the articles, but needs information to just kind of search it in a very specific way. So when you're asking it to write a speech for you, we're not there yet.
No, we're definitely
we're not there yet. The words that you were using, I think it's the same way the way we talk. Have you ever heard people talk in industries? It's a turnkey
jargon.
Oh my God!
And synergistic integration.
Circle back. We're going to circle back. Put on the back burner. We're going to regroup. Yeah.
Yeah. No. So when you're talking about AI writing, they're not unless you know how to use AI.
Yeah.
Then you can prompt it to write a speech for you. If not, then you're probably not doing it right, and you're going to get a lot of filler words.
I love having it grade my writing. So I had it grade something I wrote a couple of days ago, and it was a B-. I'm like, all right, thank you for the candid feedback. So I asked it because it said it was missing a strong call to action. And I said, okay, please rewrite. So I did a whole new prompt. I copy and pasted the article that I wrote, and then I had it, I explained what it was, and I said, please write a strong call to action. And it wrote it, and I'm like, okay, that's good. It obviously needs a human touch. And so I tweaked it a little more, and then it had asked me to include a specific example. And so I included a specific example, like a use case, and I included the use case, and it went from a B- to an A.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like,
but you asked it to grade how do you ask it to grade your stuff?
Grade me on a scale of A to F.
Interesting.
Yeah.
See, and I do think that's useful information for you to take, which is this becomes more comprehensive if I'm including real world examples.
Yes.
And that's perfectly reasonable whenever you're writing something that gives people to relate to. So that is a valuable learning.
Yeah.
Well, I've tried it where it's written something and then I say write it again, or I write it more creatively, and then it gives me a different version of it. But I'm not crazy about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
I think you still have to do edits, and I think the other thing is in terms of AI, like there's other tools that are not necessarily like Chat GPT, but there are other tools that are pretty useful. Like, have you used Opus?
I love Opus.
Yeah.
It's great, but it's not the greatest.
No, you can do better, but I mean, it does a decent job.
It does.
Yeah.
I think y'all would like that for your podcast.
What is open?
Opus.pro.
Okay.
And so it takes the embedded captions. The video that I tagged you all in.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was Opus Pro. I embedded the pet set logo into as an overlay, and then had the captions, and they have different options for it. If you have a SOP or brand style guide, you can take your font or maybe your font, depending on the font that you use. If you use like Montserrat or whatever, but your colors. So that orange color, whatever the FF805A or whatever the hell it is.
Conversation. I have no idea.
Wait. Mine is. I know it. It's C67839. I think is the orange.
Are you serious? You remember?
Because I have to do it. Oh,
okay. See, that was fantastic, wasn't it, Ron?
Yeah, I couldn't do it. You put a gun to my head.
Fantastic. Yeah.
C67839.
I had written down everywhere in the office. I just don't memorize it. Yeah.
How dare you use my Apple password, Lisa? Shit. But you can copy.
Maybe it's 835. But yeah, the Canva was how I learned what it was, because it has the color picker.
Yes.
And if I could click on, I mean, they gave me a brand guide, but now every time I go in and make something in Canva, which is my crutch.
It's not a crutch. It increases productivity 1,000-fold.
Yeah.
So that's what Opus Pro does.
Okay. Noted.
With your videos. You can easily get from just like 120 to 25-minute conversation. Opus Pro is not paying me to say this, by the way.
Well, they should.
They should. You should. You should. But no, you can copy and paste your font to match. And so what I like to do for my show is there's the little long oval thing with the text. And so I have my blue, whatever that is, FF80 whatever. Lisa probably knows.
Let me just hold on a second.
Yeah. So I have that as the background, and then the orange is the text. Or is it the other way around? Shit, I don't know.
But it incorporates your branding into it.
So
that's nice.
Copy and paste it from black and white, and you can use that. And then you can use the logo, Conversations for the Animals, as the overlay and in the very bottom corner. And then what's really cool is that it's got, if you do the 9x16 vertical, it gives you the little invisible line so that you can see where you can you can drop everything, so that you're not
the guides for the
so that
grid.
So that if you don't, that way you don't have to put the logo so low that if you're on Instagram that you're the captions
go over it. See, that is one thing that I will say that I mess up on a lot when I'm making TikToks and Reels and stuff, is I'm like, let's use all the space. And then I publish it. I'm like, everything is covered by all of the various floating buttons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn TikTok.
I love TikTok. I'm fully addicted to it.
Really?
Yeah. That's the problem.
Yeah. Y'all like TikTok? You
Absolutely not.
I don't.
I have friends who they had to delete, and they came back and they were
the abyss.
They came back and they went right back to that hole.
Yeah.
It's done some terrible stuff to some people.
Yeah.
They completely like invested in these theories and these things, and this is what I heard, and I'm probably gonna get shitted on for this, but I had a friend who
shall remain nameless.
Yes, no, but I'll probably get.
I was about to say, what's her name?
We're not doxing anybody today.
But the conversation got into wild places.
Yeah.
And they were doing testosterone testing and I don't know what. And I was like, where the fuck did you go?
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
And no, I don't like TikTok.
There are some weird parts of it.
I can do Instagram. Instagram's doable. Instagram, people get wild and you can tell right away. And I'm like, am I the crazy one? You go to the comments and no, they're crazy. Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
I thought it was me. And but Facebook, I stay away from certain spaces. But TikTok, it's hard because you get pushed the same thing, and it tries to get you to react to it or to comment or something. So it does it over and over and over, and it feeds you the same things. Their For You page is like it's
mine is animals is the nice part, because I very, very deliberately have curated it so it's just cute animals. Or like
Cute
people getting haircuts.
Yeah.
Or
You
something.
control it to some degree, like what
Yeah.
you get on TikTok or don't, because you can tell it, I don't want to see this type of video, and it'll go away.
It doesn't, but all it knows is that you don't like to see it. So guess what they're going to do?
But it does.
They're going to
like-
probably feed you something very similar to it.
But they do, like, because I think they listen to you quite a lot. 'Cause I think if you happen to, mention that one product or you happen to do this, and then all of a sudden you see a bunch of
See, my
big
husband's on
videos
TikTok
stuff.
too now.
And I
Lost him
Yeah,
on his side.
But he's not a flat earther, y'all.
Not yet. There's friends on.
I think TikTok has like is very entertaining.
Yeah.
That's the thing. TikTok is very
Which
entertaining.
shape is the planet?
Which shape is a
Which
I don't know. I know we're having a
Bad shape.
right now.
actually,
Oh,
okay,
bad shape. Yeah.
I'm about to blow your mind with more useless knowledge.
All right. I love it.
It's an oblate spheroid.
Oblate spheroid. 2 words I've never heard.
See, I'm not that deep into TikTok.
Not a sphere.
Where did you learn that? Where did you learn that? Okay, you see, that's a
Fourth
good
grade.
thing. Okay,
Yes.
I'll ask you this. And we're 10 conversations, I think you mentioned earlier, right?
Yes.
Where's Alaska?
Well, it's not contiguous with the rest of the United States.
Correct, but where is it?
The northwest
Uh-huh.
edge of Canada.
On the edge of Canada.
Yeah.
You know how many people actually think it's an island?
Oh no.
No, I am dead serious.
Is that what you learn from
I
people who
am
learn this on
dead
TikTok, or they think?
People on TikTok. No, I remember dating somebody back in like middle school. Not middle school, I'm sorry, high school. Like I was like in my 20s or something. And they're like, yeah, Alaska's an island. And I was like, you're crazy. What are you talking about?
Hawaii.
No, hold on. But as I got older, there's actual like adults who think Alaska's an island.
And they actually don't realize. Everyone, laughs at Sarah Palin,
And they're like, it's
I
on
can
the
see
map.
Russia from my backyard.
Yeah.
I mean, she can't, but it really is not that far away.
No, it's not that far away. I think it's a couple of 100 miles.
Yeah.
Yes. So, but because of the way the map is, they don't have a globe. They have an actual map. And they're like, but look, it looks like an island. I was like, there's no way. Did you take geography? Did we learn this? There's a lot of people who really do think that.
Are you investigating?
That's Google. Filled.
Alaska as an island is the first
Yeah.
Yeah.
Google result.
Yes. I swear to Bob.
I'm so sad for us.
I swear to. And I was like, this is not okay. This is not okay. So I'm happy to
Yes.
hear that you learned that in fourth
I had a
grade.
really good fourth grade teacher.
Oh my God.
All it means is that it's not a perfect sphere. It's slightly smushed. So it's oblate.
Oblate spheroid. That's a great name for a rock band.
That's actually going to be my pun.
Sounds like somebody's dog's name.
Oblate.
Lady.
And on that note, I'm going to turn the podcast because I have left my poor. I don't leave your pets in cars, but my boyfriend is sitting out in the car waiting for.
I was going to say, you stay here. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, Lisa. This was so much fun.
Always.
Lisa, I didn't meet you. My name is Angelica. Nice to meet you also.
Enjoy your
Yes.
celebration of this 100th episode. It's really exciting.
Thank you. All right. Yeah. Oh, hey, can you take a picture of all of us? All right. Fantastic.
He's like, no. Let me pretend I had this on the whole time. I'm still here.
All right. Cool.
And we'll edit out those 10 seconds of silence.
Yes, absolutely. Oh no, we did a 12-hour marathon to kick off the Cruiser HTX. Bye, Lisa.
Bye.
Thank you so
Nice to
much.
meet you.
We didn't even get to talk about your horse. All right, next time. Next time. Bye. Come on, dude. Can you jump on the mic, or you want to stay
Yeah,
there?
who else-
What's he? Oh,
is anyone
my mic is off. I think Vanessa and Holland are going to be here soon. Let me see if I got a text from them. We're just leave this whole bad boy rolling the way it is, dude.
It's a cool setup.
Oh,
I like the
man.
setup in here.
I appreciate it. It's
nice.
it's coming together.
Good job. Who
It's
did the
normally
graphic?
that's Freddie's.
That's Freddie, why do you have the San Jacinto Monument off to the side? It's not even close to downtown.
No, that was speaking of Canva. I just looked up downtown Houston, and I just liked the graphic.
Oh, I think you have the guest here.
Enough about me, because we have somebody here who I've been waiting for y'all to meet. Her name is Holland.
Hey, y'all.
One half of the dynamic duo that is Ask Your Work Wives. Or no, I'm sorry, Ask Your Work Wife. Ask Your Work Wife.
There are two of us, but
Yeah.
ask your work
You said wives. I was like, how many wives you got?
They're work wives you have
You only
too,
need
man.
2 work wives.
By the way, Holland's and Vanessa's show has the best theme song
Oh,
ever. I mean,
it's pretty catchy.
yeah, it is.
Thank
yeah. Okay, so tell people about Ask Your Work Wife.
Yeah, I will. Ask Your Work Wife is a podcast for ambitious women who want more out of corporate America. It's question and answer, 20-minute actionable. You should be able to use it on your way to work.
Mm-hmm.
You should be able to listen to it on your way to work and implement it today.
70, 10, 10, 10.
Oh, the 70, 10, 10, 10 rule.
So go over that because I wanted to ask all about that. And I think it applies to like people that are that don't even work in corporate America as well, like any kind of employee.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So the 70, 10, 10, 10 rule is how to make sure that you get recognition for what you've done, which is how you make more money in corporate America.
Mm-hmm.
So 70% of your job. I mean, I think most people approach their job like, well, I've got 8 to 5 to do my job. I'm going to do my job from 8 to 5, and then I'll do my job again tomorrow from 8 to 5, and then the day after that, 8 to 5. The thing about that is if you're just doing your job, no one knows that you're doing your job. No one knows how excellent you are. No one knows what wins you've gotten, right? And certainly you won't remember in a year when you need to submit your performance review. So we say spend 70% of your time doing your job, spend 10% of it writing it down, spend 10% of it telling other people what you did. And that last 10% is really controversial, which of course makes Vanessa love it, which is 10% of your job should be finding a new job. And that could be anything like developing your relationships with your champions, your mentors, those people in the workplace who like advocate for you. But it could also be like, updating your resume, applying for jobs, shit like that.
Yeah, but I see how that's important. I think
Right.
especially for people who are working in corporate America who might be working with these big, gigantic conglomerates and they don't know where they stand. And so it's always, I go back to that stupid like saying, whereas, well, you should have another girlfriend before you go and dump your current girlfriend. But I think that definitely applies.
Is that a saying, Freddie?
Yeah, I think that's a real thing, Freddie.
Well, I think
You say you should have another job before you leave the current one. So I get that.
No, that's what that is. And I may have, I know I've definitely heard that from some of my older male relatives before I got married.
Bad advice.
That's terrible
Get
advice.
another girlfriend, you'll definitely not have one girlfriend if that's again.
Yeah, we all know what that means. But no, I think it definitely it applies more to having a job and employment than it does relationships.
Someone has to know how excellent you are.
Mm-hmm.
Like how much of your work is the product and how much of it is talking about the product.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it might be closer to 50-50.
Yeah, there is something, I forget who said it. I forget what a lot of people say. I absorb a lot of intel and information. They're like, a lot of podcasters will spend 80% of their time producing the podcast and 20% of the time marketing, and it should be the other way around.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, we had probably 60 to 80 episodes in the can before we ever started talking about the podcast. We had operationalized our entire workflow for a year and a half before we ever started telling people what it was about, started the marketing for it. And once that was all done, we could do the podcast in our sleep. We could do it on a plane, on a train, in a box, the box, we don't like our necks in hand, but we like to be, 6 months ahead on a podcast production. And that means like we just became excellent at the work of making the podcast, of making the product, so that when it came time to talk about the product, it didn't take anything else up from us to keep making.
Did you have the time? Did you have the time though? Did you have like the financial backing to like be able to, yeah. Some people's situation, they want to become podcasts immediately as soon as they start recording that record button, right?
Yeah.
3 months in, they want to.
Right there.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
automatically see the turnaround, the profit, the money coming in, and it's not the way it works.
What I mean, if you're producing for yourself, we had that flexibility. But if you're producing for somebody else, of course.
Yeah. So, but when you have the financial backing, it is pretty easy. And then, of course, you can invest in the equipment.
That's right.
You can invest if it's video, whatever.
Right.
Right. And then, as what we were talking earlier, Freddie, you don't have to necessarily do all the work yourself.
Mm-hmm.
We're like Optimus Prime. What was it that you were talking about?
One.
That little thing that creates little beignets for you.
Opus.pro.
Yeah, Optimus Prime. That's what I said.
I heard Optimus Prime.
Opus.pro. They don't pay me to say this.
Yeah, and you're taking, so you can take your time with it.
That's right.
And when you have the backing, the financial backing to be able to do it. So how did y'all start the podcast? How did am I doing the interview? Oh my God.
No,
I
this is I love this. I'm
What
just
about
listening.
it?
Well, that's why I wanted to do this, because I wanted all my friends to meet.
Oh, cool.
I already know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, pretty. So how did y'all start, or why did y'all start, or how did it come about?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, Vanessa's been my career coach for 7 years. And in that time, I've quintupled my salary. And when we were thinking about doing something more serious together, we were thinking about like a dating podcast. Because, that's what people do, or girls. And then we were like, but we don't want to talk.
Like call your daddy?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
By the way, she didn't tell Holland to call her daddy. She's talking about the actual name of the podcast. Call her daddy.
Yeah.
Just so everyone knows.
Yeah. But we realized we don't think about we think about relationships, but that's not what we like. What do we do all day long? We think about work. And we both come from this place of like, women need more resources. Ambitious and women haven't been taught to excel in corporate America. And so having had my experience with Vanessa, her being such a strong career coach for not just me, but lots of people, it just seemed like the world needs more. The women of the world need more of this kind of advice. So that was really our impetus. And, 160 episodes in, we're pretty proud.
Do you ever feel like you want to leave corporate America?
No.
Really?
Corporate America is not the end game. I don't think anyone like wakes up one morning and is like, you know what, I really want to be a CMO. But you know what I really want? I want that CMO money so I can do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's different for everybody. Vanessa's in corporate America. She's she's doing it for the money. And that's the thing about it is like, there's so much money to be had. And if you know how to play the game, you can get it.
Oh, it's a game.
It's a game. It's for sure.
Oh God, it's
You're like, I should have known that a long time.
Yeah, wish I knew. Yeah, and I played. I was shitty at playing. I was the 78 Buccaneers. The ones that lost their first, was it 32 games or whatever? That was me. That's me playing that corporate game.
We don't want people to not know the rules.
Yeah, you got to know the rules.
You got to know the rules.
Yeah.
70-10-10-10 rule. I love that you started with that.
Yeah.
So I have my podcast and we have our business, me and my husband do. And I love what we do and I love the things that we do. I've never worked in corporate America and I want to start my career in corporate America like at 40, right? 40 plus. I'm not going to give you my age. I want to start my career. And I was telling my mentor that I want to start my career. One of the advice he goes, stop cussing on the podcast. I was like, okay, I'll stop that. I'll stop doing that. And the only reason is, and we've found success in what we do. The idea was always to put my son through college where not a lot of loans had to be had, where no loans, and we could complete, he doesn't have to work at school, in school. And we've done that. And so 3 years in, it's like, okay, so what are we doing, right? I want to save money. I want to do other things. And my position can be taken over by somebody else and we can hire somebody else to go into the business with Juan. But I myself want to see the success of what I can do on my own. So I wanted to step into that corporate space.
Yeah.
Because I work with corporate people when we do like our thing, and it's a whole other attitude that they have, right? The way they covet their space and their position and like all of that. I'm like, you are way too stiff. You are way too nobody's, and it's so corporate policy and corporate political within the office and the hierarchy and all sorts of stuff. And I'm like, I wonder if I can put up with people. I was like, so when you talk about I know that I can leave it and go right back to the company that we have, but I want to try it because I wonder if I can put up with people.
Is it for the money?
In part, so it kind of is, but I want to know how to be able to put up with the people, and I want the network and I want the other stuff, but mainly it's because when I don't have to put up with it, I don't. I'm like, I don't want to deal with this. You deal with it, give it to somebody else, or y'all figure it out. I'm going to step away. And my husband, you have to talk to, I'm not going to do the luncheon. I'm not going to go to the gala. I'm so tired of this shit.
Right.
And I tell my husband that all the time. And I used to be really good at the networking thing, before. And now I don't want to do it. And I'm like, I should probably stop that and get back out there.
I think it's really interesting because I think Freddie was saying, it can be really fatiguing if there's not something on the other side. Why am I going to this networking event? You got to have a reason. Or else what is the point? So we answered a question recently on the podcast about she's trying to change industries. And she's like, I don't know how to network. I don't know how to use networking to change industries. Like I usually just go to networking events in my industry. And so it just became a matter of like connecting the dots for her that like there are other ways to get around that isn't exhausting. And so I'm super excited for you.
Well, no, thank you. Well, now I know. Maybe she has somebody that coaches like people who are entering that space and not so much like trying to get at that other level. But I admire that. I admire corporate girlies. I think it's just like because it's a very male dominated ran space, and so when you watch the women like excel in it and when they act exactly like the men, you're like, ha, that's what you get.
I mean, hey, look, it is well deserved.
You know,
Wreck shit.
Yeah, set it on fire.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, we deserve it. I mean, I got, look, don't burn bridges. I'm just saying,
burn it in a good way.
I'm just saying that
say their name.
The chicken, I will not say their name. Stop egging me on, bro. I'm just saying that the chickens will come home to roost a lot sooner than people think when it comes to corporate America.
What does that mean?
Yeah, I don't know what the phrase means.
I just think that there is a severe lack of trust in our institutions and
okay, say more.
No, please, you go. I want to hear you. No, you talk. You go. I want to hear you.
If there's a severe lack of trust in our institutions, I just think that's because we're not using them for what they're good for. They have no responsibility. If you're talking about corporate America, there's no responsibility that it has for me.
No responsibility for you. Like, what do you mean?
Like their goal, the structure of corporate America, their entire reason for existence is to make money.
Yes.
So as long as I'm aligned with that value, we're on the same page. The moment I expect them to like care for me for the rest of my life and like make sure that I'm happy, but like they're going to pay for my mental health care services. But like the moment that I put them outside of what they're there to do is the minute I lose, they're still going to win.
Yeah.
So if I just align with that goal, so that's why I just keep bringing it back to money because like that's what they're for. Then that's what I'm going to get out of it. So I can do whatever I want.
There's some people that play that game really well too. What is that thing that people get sometimes when they like for mental health or for whatever? What is it called when they can like take weeks off of work?
Mental health break?
Like a leave of absence?
No, they call it something. Oh, no. Not what happens to you during like.
Oh, you're thinking of a mental episode of breakdown.
It's like a doctor's note that they give you and they have to like abide by it. So whenever you need to leave work, oh my God, the people who are listening to it, there's probably like
FMLA, but I think that's more.
Yeah.
I think that's more for physical health. No?
No,
I thought it was a writing style.
No.
Oh no, that's MLS.
No.
What?
I think that's a family medical leave or something.
Family Medical Leave Act?
FMLA.
Yeah, something like that. I'm going to look it up now. I'm going to be like you, Lynn, not going to be able to let it go until I know exactly what it is. But there's that where they can use it up the way they want. But if you don't...
Well, there's an incredible amount of resources that you can make yourself, that you can make use of, which I think is unparalleled. It's unparalleled. Yeah. Especially as you get into bigger and bigger enterprise corporations, like the agreements that they have with healthcare, the agreements that they have for benefits and perks, like you do get extra shit. It's kind of fun.
Well, listening to you, I feel like you have the right attitude to go into corporate America because I feel like so often when you go into corporate America, and I've been in corporate America for a little bit,
I gotta like this.
You go in with the mentality like you were saying, like, oh, they're gonna care about me, or they're gonna like that, or this is my job, or I care about my job. It's a different mentality. You go into it more as a like the traditional employee that you, as opposed to thinking about it very transactionally.
Super transactional,
which I think is the right way to think about it, because at that point, because at the end of the day, like if you leave, you're going to be replaced tomorrow.
That's 100%.
So it's
sometimes by 3 people.
That's what my mentor told me.
As soon as you leave, somebody else is already in there.
Yeah, that's what my mentor told me. What they do is
think about it like, oh, well, if I, I'm here to make the money that I want to make. I'm here to earn what I want to make, and I'm not like kind of looking at it very callously. Where you're like, I don't really care to be anybody's best friend. I don't really care to I just know what I can get and what I can gain from this job.
Right. And I think the more personal you are and the more personal you take it, the more dangerous it is because you get too attached. Yeah. And that's why we say, put your work wives outside of your corporate America space. You don't want rumors flying about you and anybody else and secrets and all that stuff. Take that out of your professional space, take it to ask your work wife, and let us be the safe place you can bring all your Silly questions.
When you say work wife, to me, I thought about like, you know how they say like everybody has a work wife at work, and that's what I thought that
It's a little play.
Yeah.
It's a
So I
little
was
play.
taking it very literally because I think sometimes that's how you kind of go in. Like you kind of go in with like, oh, I have my best friends are at work, my this and that, my whole world is at work because we spend so much time at the office. Where the way you're looking at it is less like that's not my whole world. That's where I go to work.
Right.
And
Exactly.
my whole world is outside of that, and
Exactly.
they're just making the rest of my life possible.
It's a means to an end.
100%. 100%.
So I see
Yeah.
she's playing the game.
The
well.
long game.
Yeah.
She's playing the long game.
You and I were
The
playing
short game.
importantly.
Yeah,
You're playing the short game.
yeah. Well, it's like, well,
You got the wrong work wife.
it's for you people.
Okay, have you ever heard the term where this is probably a women thing? Have you ever heard the time you have that you're doing girlfriend responsibilities without the wife title? That's what y'all were doing. Y'all were doing wife things without only with the girlfriend title. You were committed to something that wasn't committed to you.
Yeah.
Well, and then you get burned out.
Yeah.
You get stressed out.
And then the problem is you, the employee, right?
It's an attitude thing. It's how you're approaching the work rather than the work itself. I'm sure your work was fantastic. No, y'all.
Yeah, no. I guess my point is like, you are spinning in this wheel, right?
Mhm.
This hamster wheel. You're doing the damn thing. You think you're doing a great job. You are doing a great job at doing the damn thing. Here's some more. Oh, by the way, we're not going to pay you. Oh, by the way, here's some more, and we're not going to pay you. Oh, by the way, shut up and don't ask for a raise. Oh, by the way, you're overpaid. And then, the problem is you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like you talk about gaslighting.
That's right. That's right.
In a corporation, you can always be replaced.
Oh, yeah, by 3 people.
Always.
You start your negotiation during the interview process and you never let it go.
Okay.
Every month you're asking for a raise. What is it going to take? What's it going to take? What's it going to take?
Mhm.
And I think you're right. You do have to stretch into that next role because on some level you have to be doing the job you want before you get it.
Mhm.
The minute you stop bringing it up, they're not going to bring it up. Why would they offer you more money?
There's nothing in it for them.
What's the point?
Yeah.
Right. And I get that like sometimes corporations don't respond well to negotiating inside of the play, like while you have a job.
Mhm.
But the more normal it is for you, both I think from like a psychological perspective
Mhm.
and for them to just hear that from you, I think the better it's going to be. So be like that.
No,
I
that's
wanna
really
know
great
how you-
You know what I'm saying?
That's really
how
great
you
advice.
how you got this way.
I love this question.
Oh my God.
What happened to you?
More people the doll.
More people need to go in with this attitude. No, I think more people need to go
I'll
in
tell you
with
what.
this attitude.
And it's a sad story. It's a sad story. So I had this husband and he was great and he worked at Google and everything was amazing. And then it stopped being amazing. You know, you get a divorce. It's like shit goes down. And I had a little kid.
Mhm.
My son was a year and a half. And I moved in with my parents. They took me and I was really lucky to have so much support. And I took, a little time to just kind of like recoup and I'm like hugging myself.
Mhm.
And take care of myself a little bit. But at some point it got to the point I was like, I don't have money. I don't have a job. I have no prospects. What I'd been doing before, I was a musician, but I was like a stay-at-home wife. Like, and then I was a stay-at-home mom, but like, you know what I'm saying? My life was paid for. And all of a sudden I had to pay for my own life plus the life of my little one.
Mm.
And damned if that doesn't light a fire into you, you know?
Survival.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's fun. And then you keep getting recognition and raises and promotions and you know how to do it. You play the game, get more money. And now I just have to figure out what I want to do with it all.
Okay.
Yeah, no. I like that.
Respect.
How do I go?
Yeah.
Thank you. Much more respect.
Yeah.
How do I take that class? How do I sign up to that train?
Every Wednesday at 5 a.m. It's 20 minutes.
You knew that was
On your way
coming.
to work. Ask Your Work Wife on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
That's amazing. That's amazing because it's purpose driven. We all have a purpose, and they have their own mission. They have it on like when you walk into the corporate office.
Yeah.
We do this, this, and this. Oh, perfect. I'm gonna act exactly what they want when they need me.
That's exactly
And when
right.
I go home, I'm gonna do my other thing. And then when I continue, but the idea, I'm not even sure why that happened or when it started happening. That people just kind of stayed at their job for so long, but they could afford it. Right now, we can't afford anything. So
Right.
you got to make your money and move it. Keep it
Yeah.
going. Keep it
Yeah.
hustling.
But on the flip side, I think about it as an employer. Like I go in now and I don't expect to have my employees for 5, 10 years or 20 years. I don't expect that they're going to be around. I expect that, they're going to come, they're going to work with me for a while. If I can keep them for longer than they're normal, then I would like to. But, I'm not going in with that assumption that they're going to stay with me for a long time.
Right.
We hire employees through our business.
Yeah.
And so we have a few that work with us full time.
Mm-hmm.
But my attitude is that I do try to like add incentives to their staff and keep them and hold them and as long as I possibly can, because once we train them, we're not a huge corporation, so it's not like somebody can step into that job.
Mm-hmm.
We have to retrain somebody else, and it's a whole other process, right? And so me and Juan have that work mentality, like how we do work. I was telling him, I was like, give them the birthday off. And he's like, in a real job, they can't get their birthday off. And I'm like, that's amazing. That's amazing you think that. But give them the fucking birthday off, man.
Well, I think employers do have a responsibility to their employees.
Yeah,
and that has to do with, I think, at the top, profitability, and second, like responsibility, like governance and respect and all of that. And
expectations.
yeah, but if that's not being met, like if there's not basic respect, I love the birthday thing, by the way. I worked on my birthday a couple of years back and I was like, what the fuck are you doing here? I was like, no, why am I here? Take a birthday. I love it.
No, take your birthday.
I respect what you said about, that you're in there and for you're kind of looking at the bottom line. But me as an employer, I'm also looking at the bottom line.
Right.
So
You can't employ them unless you're not responsible fiscally.
If I have to let you go, then I'm going to let you go.
Yeah,
I'm not going to lose sleep about it.
And that's the thing that I tell them too, is that that's the thing that I tell them. I will.
But I'm being honest.
Yeah, no, you have to be.
I will. But here's the thing that I tell them all the time, look, when we lose clients, we lose employees. So I have to continue doing the work the way I have to do the work. And I have to manage the relationships that we have with all our clients and everything that we do. So if we go to we went to Nashville not that long ago, we took 2 of the girls with us, they don't work after hours the same way they would work here just because they're like on vacation with us. I hope you're not on your computer at 12, 1 o'clock trying to finish things up. 5 o'clock rolled around. Guess what? I'm out. Don't bother me. Do you want to have dinner? We can talk dinner. And I tell my husband the same thing sometimes. I'm like, I'm not talking work right now. Absolutely not. We can talk work on work hours.
And see, I'm the type that there's I'm like, anywhere we go, I'm always like, work.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know.
Well, you're an entrepreneur. You're a business owner. It's different.
Yeah, it is, but it doesn't always have to be. And then we set this entrepreneurship mental lifestyle that we all try to adhere to now. And I'm like, that's not the point. The entrepreneurship lifestyle is supposed to be catered and tailored. Like you're outfitting yourself to whatever this is. So you don't have to do the same 9 to work, 5. Yeah, the meetings take place. Absolutely. But I, for myself, can work as hard as possible, 12 hours a day for 3 months. I take my 2 months off right after that because that's the way I work and that's how I work because I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to sleep into 1 o'clock and have my friends and be like, hey, let's go have lunch. I'll invite you some sushi, have a 2-3 hour lunch with them. That's the way I want to work.
It's all lifestyle informed. Like you're working backward. Just, okay, this is how I want to live. This is what I want. This is the lifestyle I want to lead.
Yes.
And then okay, how do I run my business to support that?
My creativity starts when I'm at that 2 months. Work doesn't really stop. I can think about it. I write it on my notes and I revisit everything 3 months later. And I'm like, I'm going to execute that. And that's when my husband's like, oh shit, here she comes.
Does she really sleep till 1 o'clock in the afternoon though? Has she ever?
Yeah.
Yeah, she has, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't remember the last time I woke up at 1. I don't even think working overnights at the radio station, I was waking up at 1 in the afternoon.
You got to sleep, man.
Wow. I believe it. No.
She's like,
you got to sleep.
Yeah. Well, I make sure to get my 7 hours now that I'm in my late 40s. Andrew Huberman
2 to 4
says
hours a night.
2 to 4.
2 to 4 hours.
That's how much you're sleeping?
Yeah.
There's no way.
Raul.
How do you function like that?
Very slowly.
He's got a monster drink in his
You don't have a gigantic monster.
I believe you because one of our employees, our editor, and I constantly go back and forth, in the morning, early, late at night, after midnight. And I don't mean to, but he'll send me a message and I'll reply because I'm up. And he's like, he'll tell me we'll go back and forth. He's like, you'll just reach out to me. I never sleep. So, and I think that's just the way that we work. That's just our personality. We're just always like that. But I think in order for that to work, like not everybody in the business, everybody in the business has to kind of take on different roles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I think in order for it to function, you have to have those different roles.
And you got to let those employees be who they are. I tell them all the time. Like, you got to let your creatives be creative.
Absolutely.
And then you have to let your people who are organized be the organization. Don't force them to be creative. They're not creative.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to create a different workspace for the employees that we have. But corporate, I hear, is very brutal. And so I'm trying to see how that might work out. I might like leave crying one weekend, but that's okay. Because that's what I'm expecting or not expecting. That's what I don't know what to
If your
expect.
expectations are really low, I guess I feel like people will be disappointed.
Low expectations I found are good.
Are they?
I have low expectations of pretty much everybody except for myself. Like I hold myself to the highest standard. And it's like, it's not even to denigrate anybody. I just feel like my life is easier when I have little to no expectation. And when I say little to no expectations, I don't mean that in a pejorative sense. Like, obviously I expect society to not, murder me randomly when I'm out with my family. That just kind of goes without saying. But like, if I'm on a sales call or whatever, and someone pulls a no-show, then that what it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Something, maybe there was an emergency, maybe there's a great reason for it, and why should I get butthurt about getting stood up?
Right.
Or why should I be insulted when I'm on a sales call and someone insults something that I do? Why should I get offended? That's a me thing. Is what's wrong with me? That's a me problem. Or maybe there's something wrong with the presentation. That warranted it. So, if I hold myself to the highest standard out of everybody, that I just find that things are a little easier. Things are a little easier. But yeah, so I don't know. Yeah. Plus, I just like saying low expectations.
So do you think that like when people like criticize you, that's okay?
I mean, it's warranted. If it's warranted, sure. Absolutely.
How do you know it's warranted? It's based on your opinion.
Okay, so I'll take the perfect example. The perfect example of having someone criticize me. I would almost say for no reason. It was when I wrote a book. I've written 3 fiction novels, and the first one I got murdered by a certain publication called the Houston Press. And I mean, I was butthurt to the point where I stayed up the entire weekend trolling this guy's Twitter account. Just not trolling, but just reading through his tweets, trying to understand where he was coming from. I'm like, okay, yeah, so this guy obviously feels a certain way because of this. And so then I read it like over and over and over and over. I read that review and I'm like, maybe he's right. It was all this garbage. Did y'all ever see the movie Chef?
Is that the one where they get in it's
like a van?
Yeah, it's a van.
John Favreau.
Yeah, yes,
Okay,
yes.
He basically got ripped to shreds by this guy, this food writer.
Yeah.
And he's like, you just shit on my shit. I do chocolate lava cake because it's and it creates a molten lava. Anyways, the guy just butchered his whole meal. And that was how I felt, was like the guy from Chef Carl Casper. That was how I felt. I'm like, and it fucking hurt. And those were his words. You just shit on my shit. Dude, I busted my ass writing that book and put it, I didn't graduate with an English literature degree. I just thought I was having fun. And so after reading it over and over and over and over again, something really, really stood out. He said something about how the protagonist didn't show up until I think it was 27 pages in. And I'm like, good fucking point.
Mm-hmm.
And I internalized that. And then that was, of course I was angry. And so I wrote another book, which I'm not even kidding, had nothing to do with the guy who butchered my book. But I internalized that and was like, okay, so the main character so I took that bit of criticism. And I think it may have been Paul Bet-David who talked about how haters, there's always a shred, even if it's the smallest shred, there's always a shred of truth when it comes to your haters. And that was actually probably months after that whole thing. I have a hard time letting things go, and I've since let that go. But I've always found that, you know what, maybe it is warranted, even if it's a very artful shitting on my shit, which I thought was just, I mean, and if I were to read that review over, I'd be like, holy crap, it's a badass trashing of my book. But it really rubbed me the wrong way, because it wasn't, dude, that review was at the top of the Google ranking. Oh man, you were gonna say something.
No, I was going to tell you, we're just built differently. I could give two fucks what people think about me and what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could write, as long as, don't talk about my kids.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
You say something about my kids, I'm going to show up at your house.
Yeah.
Oh.
But we're different.
Yeah. Well, now I feel like, I wouldn't say bulletproof, but I think after having done the writing thing for, 3 different books, he could have probably said the same shit about the third book, or shit on it just as bad. I'm pretty sure he probably would. And it wouldn't bother me. Like, I would almost wear it as a badge of honor. But I just find it a little easier to rest. It's like, yeah, someone's not, if you're not pissing people off or making people shit on you, then you're probably not doing something right. You're probably not doing something right. Yeah.
Trying to find a quote that I had written down, but it was like somebody said it, but they said that they don't really take advice. I guess I'm going to paraphrase it. And they said, unless you've already done it, I'm not going to take advice from you, because I'm going to take, I take things with a grain of salt. And if you can't prove to me that you've done the thing you're criticizing me for, then I don't really have to take what you're saying.
Isn't that the ring, and the something goes to the one in the ring, not the person in the stands?
The Man in the Arena by Teddy Roosevelt, which is one of my favorite fucking speeches. By the way, I've got this crazy story. So Judge Andrew Napolitano wrote this book called Theodore and Woodrow, where he talks about the presidents Woodrow Wilson and Theodore Roosevelt during the Spanish-American War, and I'm about to bore all of y'all to tears, but it's I think it was the Bull Run. God, what was the fucking battle? It was the Spanish-American War, and there was it was Teddy's Rough Riders, and they were going to charge the hill, which anybody with any kind of shred of intelligence about how battles go, you don't charge the fucking hill upward. I mean, the enemy has a clear advantage, but this is like, Teddy was Teddy. And so there was a guy who was obviously not down for charging the hill. And Teddy got pissed, and he grabbed him by the scruff of the neck and lifted him up, and the guy got shot and killed.
As he lifted him up?
He lifted him up like he was pissed, like, come on, just, like, you're going to charge this fucking hill, or whatever was said,
Yeah.
And picked him up, and the guy got shot. And so I learned that fact. But aside from that, Teddy was like, he got a man
I
killed.
was like, when's the quote happen?
Yeah.
I was waiting for
The Man in the Arena gets shot. Is that the quote?
The arena.
Don't charge a hill.
Yeah.
Got it.
Oh, you got? Oh, I thought you said the guy.
Work with Teddy.
Yeah, never charge the hill with Teddy Roosevelt.
Never
all right, here it is.
Hill. With
Yeah.
Teddy. Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
Shit. I almost got it. Hold on, where is it? Images. It is not the critic who counts,
There it is.
not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly. This is my favorite part. So that his place shall never be with those cold, timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat.
That mic drop moment. Right?
Yeah, that was over my head in a lot of things.
So the synopsis was basically that
Basically,
it's
just
not the critic, it's the person in the arena.
yeah.
I know. So how did we get here?
I have no idea.
Where were we at before this?
The bad book review.
Oh no, taking criticism. No, you were asking about criticism.
Oh, that's right.
You're asking about criticism.
That's right.
Yeah.
So the bad book review
Didn't bother you.
It did, but then now nothing bothers me. I can get a 1-star review on this episode, and okay.
Don't say that out loud because people
No.
are going to mess with you and do it anyway.
Well, then I'd be like, cool.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Well, I want to hear more about Raul because, here's the deal. Raul has, so when we kicked off Cruise Through HTX, I had this idea. So the first podcast, and you all know, when I left radio, I didn't really know what I was going to do. I had this podcast where I just kind of wanted to keep my interview skills sharp because I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty badass at interviews and I've done hundreds of them. And so I thought that I was going to end up doing some sort of communications thing where I can sharpen and polish up the skills. And I didn't know what to call my podcast. So I'm like, well, it's an interview show and I'll call it Freddie's Huge Ask Podcast. And there was really no rhyme or reason. It was more of a hobby to keep myself busy while I was looking for traditional employment, probably with corporate America. The podcast was like, it was unfocused because I was just talking to whoever I wanted to talk to. Mm-hmm. And which I thought was cool because during that time, I talked to some really badass people. I mean, I talked to Navy SEAL Jack Carr. I got to talk to the lady who wrote Love and Gelato, Jenna Evans Welch. I talked to David Baldacci. And then I talked to Tova Friedman, who was the youngest Auschwitz survivor. And I mean, I was like, I got that book in the mail, Daughter of Auschwitz. I'm like, and I had to email my PR buddy. I'm like, hey, Leslie, I got this book, Daughter of Auschwitz. Does that mean you want me to interview her? She goes, yeah, when are you open? I'm like, like, dude, what? You want me to interview a Holocaust survivor? I'm honored that you would think of me to do that. But the show was still not focused. It just wasn't. And so I had this idea to launch Cruise Through HTX because I'm like, well, I'm in Houston and, that people kind of still remember me, and it's kind of like a kitschy play on words. And so we launched the show, and who was there for me when I launched it? It was my man Raul, and he was there with me, and we launched it with a 12-hour live stream on YouTube, and we had World War II veterans.
Oh, it was amazing. We had 3 World War II veterans. One of the guys was actually in World War II, the Korean War, and Vietnam.
Oh wow!
Just the one guy was in all 3. Looks like
Oh, wow.
telling, just being in his presence alone was amazing.
Yeah.
So
Actual war stories.
Oh yeah, they were sharing stories, and then after that, they all went to the Astros game and got honored at the Astros game.
Yeah.
So it was amazing. We got to hear their stories. There was at one point we had 30 people in this studio.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
Amazing.
waiting. We were all switching around the table, being interviewed. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was so much fun. And Raul was there for me. He didn't have to be, just like you don't have to be. I mean, we're brothers, man. So, yeah, he's one of my best friends. And so
I got you, Freddie.
thank you, man. Yeah.
Well, congratulations,
Yeah.
Freddie. I think we're
Thank
going
you,
to
man.
slip out.
Yeah,
Thank you
slip
so
out.
much.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much, and
Yeah.
it's great to.
So nice to meet you.
Yeah.
I have my dirty clothes in the car. I got to go wash clothes.
I thought you said, okay, pour
Yeah. Yeah, no, this is not. It was nice meeting you, Holland. I'm gonna go listen to that. Is it video or is it just podcast, just audio?
Later this year.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
I'm definitely gonna let's connect.
Perfect.
Awesome. Bueno, Freddie, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Raul,
Thank you.
gracias.
Yeah.
Okay, bye, y'all.
Yeah. And then Raul's going to jump on the mic a little bit. Yes. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Oh.
I didn't do my hair.
Holland, did you see his hair?
Oh, that.
Yeah. So video. Nice.
Yeah, we're really excited about it.
All right. So it's host and host.
That's right.
And
2
then-
hosts. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think every podcast needs a little bit of tension.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's hard. I think it's almost impossible to do with one host. I think it's, if you've got a guest or a co-host, it's better. But we have this third element of the question asker,
Mhm.
the woman who's trying to get more out of corporate America. And so we
Mhm.
bring her into the conversation with her audio. And it's kind of like the 3 of us in dialogue in a certain way.
So are you going to ask your question asker to submit a video instead of doing the voice
I don't
memo?
think so. No.
No.
And we let this. We've thought a lot about that, and the answer is there is some need for anonymity in corporate America, and asking your really delicate question or your really personal question or the thing that like you really want out of corporate America to the work wives means we sometimes anonymize those questions.
No, that's understandable completely.
Yeah. So the video
yeah.
won't be happening for that reason.
You know, I was similar when I was in the military when they would put microphones in front of your face and be like, hey, tell us about your political views. And you had to be like,
yeah, because you're not really supposed to, right?
For sure.
You would slowly walk away.
For sure.
But now that you're out.
Oh, yeah. I'm all day right here. Y'all don't want to hear what I think. Yeah. What did it say? End quote.
End quote. Oh, man. How many episodes? So you've been doing, Raul's origin story behind the start of his podcast is why it's like the quintessential starting of a podcast and growing it into an audience and like amazing.
Oh, he's so humble.
Yeah, I am actually because Freddie's been my man for so many years. And when I started my apparel brand, Freddie's one of the ones that gave me my first break when I was like hustling.
An interview break. I mean, he did all the work, and that's you, man. Go ahead, go.
Yeah, so I, it's crazy. So Charlie Mike, you came in and you called me Charlie, and I get that a lot. My name is Raul.
His last name is Mike. No,
you ought to see the emails I get. Dear Charlie Mike, but in the military it means to continue the mission.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Continue mission. So that's how everything came to be. The podcast itself was the original concept was just to share with veterans and first responders that you aren't alone, that we're in one fight together because I struggled with alcohol and addiction. And at one point in my life, I thought I was alone. And it just to show that we are a community. And when I first began, I said, if I save one person's life, then everything was worth it. And we've done that over and over and over again. And it's amazing.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm honored that people are just here to listen. It's just next month I'll be 5 years sober and clean.
Yes.
And it's an incredible
It's a real feat and accomplishment.
I wouldn't be here if I wasn't, and it's just it's an amazing Freddie seen me grow. Yeah, he's watched me grow throughout the years. And it's an incredible ride.
This studio is amazing.
It's a lot better when the AC's working, I promise.
It's not bad.
It really isn't.
I'm over here sweating.
You're wearing a sweater.
Yeah. I think honestly, like it's like 54 degrees in here when the AC is.
I thought I saw you wiping sweat doing that.
I am. Y'all don't
it's like you're working out or something.
I feel like I'm dripping sweat on the side of my face.
You're going through menopause.
It might be
menopause. No, but tell Holland how you started your show, man.
Oh, well, okay. So I started originally an apparel brand,
right.
And we did good the first year, and then COVID hit. So when COVID hit, I used a lot of my time networking before COVID to kind of do like people go to AA meetings, they go to NA meeting, Narcotics Anonymous, and that was kind of my meeting. Was to try to gather more people and share the story. And I was doing engagements at schools, speaking about addiction, doing things like that. And it's COVID hit and that all stopped. So I kind of felt like, I was backtracking is what I kind of felt like I was doing. I was still sober, still clean, just mentally backtracking. So I decided, I was like, you know what, let me try this podcast thing. And
because you still wanted a way to share your story.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I wanted to hear other people's story because that made me feel some type of way. So I put it on Facebook one time. I said, hey, I'm thinking about starting a podcast. My buddy called me. He's like, he owns a tattoo shop down the street. He said, hey, come see me. I said, okay. I went to go see him and he goes, hey, I got all this podcast equipment. I was going to do a podcast, but I don't got the time. Take it. We'll figure out the details later. Get going and we'll roll. So I was, I got a book, How to Podcast for Dummies.
Perfect. I got one just like it.
and that's how it all started. So, I was able to grow my audience and we were able to find sponsors. The next quarter, I'm actually bringing on a big sponsor.
Can you talk about that yet or no?
Yeah, I can't.
No, not yet.
Yeah, I wanted to be a surprise. Yeah.
Congratulations.
And I'm so excited and I started in a closet.
As you should. That's mad respect.
And when you learn
That's
about
like a
who
test drive starting in a garage, you're like, yes.
Yeah.
when you learn about who his sponsor is,
Yeah.
it's gonna blow your mind. I'm like,
Okay.
man, I'm so proud of this guy.
I'm
my man.
excited. I'm excited, and it's crazy that just to see it, And I tried to tell everybody, like, if I did it, it's possible. You can do it. Everyone can do it. I go and I speak to different addicts, and I speak to different veterans and different first responders, and I tell them, like, I was there. I remember that night where I was drinking. I had a gun. I was ready to go. I was at peace. But look where I'm at now. It's amazing. I'm blessed to be here, and I don't take it for granted.
And that's a wrap for episode 100 of Cruise Through HTX. If you enjoyed this episode as much as we did putting it together for you, please consider sharing with your family and friends from the website cruisethroughhtx.com.